Is it working? Oh, here it is. All right, hey.
Hello, everybody. I feel like I always start these off so weirdly, but hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Christine, and if you clicked on this video, you know that we are going to be discussing Jade War for Fantaseries Book Club. I have my lovely co-host with me today.
Hello, I'm Rachel from Let Me in the Library. How exciting! We're here to talk about this book that I think, both just finished today.
It was a struggle bus. It was a struggle bus.
Yeah,
But we are here. We are here, and we're ready to talk about it. But before we get started, I want to say two things. First of all, thank you guys so much for sticking around and dealing with the chaotic schedule. Obviously, it's summertime and things get out of whack.
Big apologies for the delay, but we appreciate you for staying.
Really do. We really do. And obviously, you guys know we have two other hosts that are usually here. But they had some things come up.
Work and personal reasons, unfortunately, that came up super last minute. So, unfortunately, I think we will not be hearing from them as much. Maybe we'll have a little bit in the chat, but it's mostly going to be just the two of us.
Yeah, just a cute, cozy little chat.
Cute little
with good old Christine and Rachel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're
reunited at last because you were.
I know. I feel like we haven't done a solo thing, just the two of us, and so like we haven't had a solo date in so long.
I know. Oh my god. And we.
But it's time. Now's the time. The stars have aligned. So anyway, I think the only other thing I was going to say is if you guys haven't read Jade City, right? If you just stumbled upon this live and you're like, this looks like fun. These two cool cats are just cool. Let me hang out. We are going to be talking spoilers. So I'm going to go ahead and put up that spoiler banner because when Rachel and I talk about things, we have no rhyme or reason. We just start talking. It's the Leo in us. And who knows what we'll say. So just want to let you know that we will be talking spoilers tonight. I actually had planned to do this. So Michael, what's wrong with you? Are you in my head, or are we just not connected? We're just that great of friends? Yeah. Spoiler alert: Rachel's birthday is in like how many? Let me do math. 49 minutes.
That's true. Wow, look at you. Who's the mathematician now?
I mean, I'd be crunching numbers. But yeah, so we will be doing an intermission of Happy Birthday at that time. And I'm gonna quit bullshitting everybody now so we can get on to the main event. But hello
Tammy.
I'm so excited that there are actually people here because
it is a little late at night, but
yeah, we didn't know what was happening. I will say this: if you guys are here Michael, that was a joke. No,
it's all good.
If you guys are here and you did finish the book, please let us know what you rated it, and any thoughts you might have on the ending or anything else you want to say. Leave it in the chat. We'd love to know your feelings on it. As far as me and Rachel, should we talk about our ratings, our overall?
Do you have a rating? Because you finished it so recently.
Yeah. Okay. So I was thinking about this, and this is going to be an overview kind of the vibes of the book. So we're not necessarily getting into true spoilers yet. But I will say this. So in the first book, in Jade City, I feel like it was very much setting up the world, we all know, and a lot of action. We had a lot of action scenes. Like I felt like I was having whiplash, just like in a good way, though, like a very fun, engaging way. But in this book, I feel like we got so much more political right off the bat. And y'all know, I mean, you might not know, but if you do know me, you know that's my bread and butter, okay? I'm like living. I love the politics. I love the political chit chat, especially when, we start getting traitors and like backstabbers and all this crazy stuff happening because it makes for an even sweeter plot twist in the end. So I think I am going to be rating this one a 4.5. It wasn't like a perfect 5, but like it was pretty good follow-up, and I think it did some really nice setting up as far as having the completion of the trilogy after this book. I think it was a very good second book. But yeah, I'll quit talking. What do you think? What are your feelings, Rachel?
I definitely agree as far as how political it got. And if you know me, you know I also am a pretty big fan of politics. Um, but I do feel like I keep like putting myself in scenarios where I have to read this book so quickly that sometimes that stuff is very, very hard to grasp
Absorb.
in a meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
So while I still enjoyed seeing like, oh, they have to deal with this, they have to deal with that, like I want there to be politics. I don't want it to be clean and simple. At times, I felt like some of the politics actually bogged down a lot of the action.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoy a lot of those like big plot twisty type of scenes. I was buddy reading this with Yasmin, and there were a few moments where I was like, when's something gonna happen? And then like the craziest thing ever happened. And I was like, okay, I'll shut up now. So like really it I wouldn't say it's like, oh, it's so well balanced, but I feel like it's unbalanced in a poetic way almost. Like
Mm-hmm.
it gives you this sort of like, yeah, we're just gonna talk in an office for a while, and then someone's gonna die, and you're like, okay, all right, okay, and it's not the person you thought was gonna die, and that's why it still surprises you, it shocks you. I mean, we were talking a little backstage, and I was like, what? Like, oh my god, like just a little bit of that here and there. So I'm having a hard time like really grasping like what my full rating is because as you know, Christine, I'm like like not really done, but basically done with this book. So I want to still say it's like somewhere in this 4-star range. I know a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people give Jade War like 5 stars. I still think it's great and it's really good, but maybe by the end of our discussion, I'll have like a final rating. But like still very impressive, and it was so interesting that we had all these theories at the end of J City, and none of them came true at
I
all.
think I think there was one that came true.
Which
And it
one was
was the
that?
letter. It was like the very
Oh,
afterthought of the letter.
yes.
We were
Oh,
like,
you're
"Oh
not.
yeah, the letter from Land's, ex-wife. Like we know
Yeah.
what that's about. Like obviously,
Yeah,
XYZ."
that was the one thing that we were like, okay, yes,
We were
that's
pretty
true.
positive. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. But there's some things that happen in this book that I didn't even think about, and it seems so like a duh moment. You're just like, "Oh, duh, that would happen." Like obviously. But so we'll get into that. But I think as far as vibes, that's kind of the vibe. It definitely was more political, and it to me made those action scenes even more crazy. Like I remember I was on chapter 30, and I really like sidebar, I know we have a Discord where we talk about these like chapter by chapter. I'm really going to try harder to put my thoughts in there for you guys cuz like my reactions are truly so stupid. I remember getting to chapter 30 and I was like, "Oh, no she didn't. No she did not just challenge that person.
Yep.
What?" So then I was having a mental breakdown because I thought someone was going to die, and we all know how that went in the last book. So RIP our friend. But anyway, so yeah, that's the vibe and kind of like my rating. It was really good, but also politics are my bread and butter. So that
Yeah.
would be, if you're interested in the series and at this point have not read it, that would be what I would say about this particular book. Um, but yeah, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. Should we go with characters first, or call it whatever? I guess we could do characters, right?
Yeah, why not?
I
So,
think um let's start with Anden. Let's start with our guy.
our
We got a
baby,
guy.
baby
Yeah,
boy,
our big A.
love him.
Because the end of the last book, it ends, and this is the spoilery part, guys. So we're gonna do that from now on. But it ends with him having that conversation with Hilo,
Yeah.
and Hilo being like, "Look, you're gonna go to Asperia. You're gonna go there. You're gonna learn some things. You don't want to be a greenbone, fine, okay, but you're gonna go be useful. You're gonna go learn some stuff." And at first, Anden is just so against it. He's distraught. Like that's his thing. He's like, "Please don't make me go." He
Right.
basically cries and says that to him. And then, we get into the first part of this book where he has kind of like been adopted by this,
Sort of like host family that
yeah,
he's
like a host family. He starts studying, he gets a job, and really puts, some effort, I would say, into living in Asperia, and kind of he signs up for the classes, you know, to learn the language and that kind of a thing.
The academia setting was definitely doing it for me, where I was like, yes,
I
yes.
loved it. I was like, yes. And I thought it was like so like real, if that makes sense. Just like such a real experience.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of being like a foreigner in this land, and trying to learn new things, and also the customs that he had to learn, because he does get into an altercation with, you know, one of the thugs
Yes, and the whole
in the
concept of like challenging to a duel, and it's like, we don't do that here.
yeah,
That's you don't
that's
know.
illegal. That is
Right.
illegal. Not only is that illegal, but also Jade is illegal, or about to be illegal. And, you know, all these changes that he has to kind of figure out, essentially. That upon also not being able to really speak the language at first. So he's like making these kind of like accidents, these mistakes happen, and he can't explain himself at all. He can't say, you know, hey, I didn't
It's,
mean to do that, but if
right.
you want to fight, let's tussle, you know? And I think one of the best parts in the beginning of the book, when he does get into that fight with the crew member, he has this internal thought where he's like, I'm really about to get my ass whipped by this no name, no jadeless son of a gun over a dang bike. I can't believe it. My cousin Hilo, he would be upset right now. And I kind of love that moment, because he, you know, even in his kind of like most crazy moment, he's still thinking like a green bone.
Yeah,
He's
he's still
still
thinking of the clan, still thinking of what would the people at the very top and, you know, like the pillar of the plan, what would they think of this?
right.
Um, and I don't think it was in that moment, but I think it was later on with the whole thing with Shae. But that whole concept of like, if you ran from a fight, they would like whoop you and like drag you back and be like, no, like you go and fight your duel. That's
Right.
what you're supposed to do. And they keep talking about how Anden was raised in that environment to be so used to just green bone life. That's like you live by. It's a mob, so it's like you live by the mob. Whatever
You
they
die
say
by the
goes.
mob.
This is, you know, how we do things. This is how we deal with people who cross us. And
Hmm.
there's an intense sense of loyalty. As Leo and Leo Rising, I'm sure we both appreciate that. But you know, it's interesting to see that you know, I mean, Anden rejects so much of that at the end of Jade City, where he's like, I don't want this. Like the way that I fit into this family I've been adopted into is by wielding Jade in a dangerous way, and I hate it and I
Hmm.
refuse. But it's still in his blood, um, or in his every like thought and gesture to return to this, which is why I think while he spends so much time in Hesperia, there's still this whole lingering sense of like, you gotta go back, right? Like you're gonna go back eventually.
Right. And in the end, he wants to. He keeps asking to go back. Like 3 years later, he's still meeting with
Yeah.
his cousin,
Speaking
saying,
of,
"I'm
like
gonna bring back."
the fact this took the place over like 3.5 years or something, and I was like, I was not expecting this to just jump like that. Like, because at certain points they were just like, then this thing happened 7 months ago, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
The timeline, it definitely reminds me of like any kind of high fantasy like that, though. Like any kind of high fantasy or high sci-fi that you read, really, and they have these like time jumps. It's like, you know, it's serious. Like Daevabad is like that. Freaking Red Rising is like that. And I guess it serves to kind of give a weight to the events,
yeah.
and to put it into perspective for the reader, and just be
And I
like,
think
yeah,
it does make more sense, especially with political games, that like
yeah,
nothing's going to happen in like 1 week. This is not like a fantasy movie that you go to see and they're like, we have 3 days to stop the mountain from exploding. It's like, no, it's a full, you know, end game. Like, how do I see past what my opposing, um, you know, in this case, like the mountain versus Snow Peak. Like, what
hmm,
will they do? How can I predict that? How can I move in this very careful, delicate game against my opponent while still maintaining this status, still maintaining my land that was sort of under siege in the previous book.
right.
Um, and I mean, like the type of war that's being fought in this is mainly just a political one, really. There's still a lot of these brawls in between, but I feel like a lot of the fight for land and fight for like what's going on started this Jade War like started in book one, and it's only
Hmm.
progressing further with what we see at the very end of this book. in what's about to happen in Jade Legacy. So
yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting. And I know like a lot of people say like this is their favorite book. This is the best one, or maybe their favorite between first and second. I don't know if Jade Legacy takes the highest spot other than that, but very
and like
interesting.
they might be politics people if that's the case.
Might
Um,
be.
I do think that this did exactly what everyone kind of told us, which was widen the scope of the world. And I think, like I said, it did a really great job of setting that up for the next book, because obviously now we know it's not just a clan war. It's not just the mountain versus no peak. It's the mountain versus no peak versus the Shotarians versus the Asperians versus the freaking what's his
Baku.
name? Yeah, Barrow, that kid who keeps messing everything up. Like
Barrow.
the true, like underrated character of the whole entire series, who like moves a pebble and then somehow a freaking boulder gets dropped on our favorite characters.
Of course.
And so yeah, I thought it was super interesting. I think and we can kind of get into this, like Shae having that whole relationship with the Asperians. And coming in to that like first meeting that she has with them and being like, look, I'm doing you a favor by giving you this kind of like intel on the mountain, right? And their dealings with the shine distribution and kind of like the illegal jade trade and that kind of a thing. I didn't have to do this for you because like I'm not in politics. Like I'm the green, you know, I'm not the gold, I'm the green. And them coming and saying, well, like, you know, you did used to have relations with that one guy, Gerald.
Was his name Gerald?
His name is Gerald, and I laugh at it every time. Every time I see it, I'm like, good old Gerald.
I thought it was a different name. Was it really
Yeah,
Gerald?
I think it's Gerald, yeah. I think it's Gerald because every time I read it, I think of Gerald, and I'm like, that's not his name. It's a very, very normal.
It's a very normal name. I thought it was like
basic name.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it
But
is
if
Gerald.
your name Gerald, no offense. Just
If
compared to
yeah,
Shae.
exactly.
Just compared to Shayla-san.
I think I just found that exact. I flipped to it by accident, but yes. For those following along at home, it's about page 170 in this copy. If you have the one that's from
the UK.
The UK, yes.
That's the exact copy I needed, but somehow Amazon said you're American today. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting to finally get to see Shae shine in that way. In different environments that we didn't get to see in the first book, and how we see her struggle with taking on that position. Because in the very beginning, she's trying to kind of like push things in a more hardened way, where it's like, no, we're not going to give you this. We're just going to do that, and everybody's like, you can't do that. Then they're not going to listen to you. But it's that very delicate balance of, I'm trying to be, kind of a hard ass so I can just protect the clan, and you guys should just be listening to us because we're the pillar. But at the same time, there's sort of that thing that Hilo really excels at, of like, what is this person all about? Like, what's their thing? And then how do I make this really favorable to them? And so Shae kind of having to compromise on some of that and be like, all right, it's not just about being the person that says no all the time, but it's a little bit of that balance, and it's a little bit about like, what's the advantage for this person? How can I play this up and make it seem like, here, I'm doing this for you, in that case of like talking to the experience. And then of course, then there's like this thing that happens later on with the whole battle of like, here's what I have to do because of my reputation that's now been sullied. And as a weatherman who's smart in the political world, if I just say, no, that's not true, then they're going to find ways to just,
duck your character again.
Deny that. Exactly, yeah. And then also if I'm just like, well, here's some evidence of whatever, like, there's nothing really that I can do. If I leave the country, I look more guilty, so what do I do? And then the solution being like, I'm gonna go fight Ite. Like, whoa.
Yeah, like, I think this was such a critical moment. That was the moment that I was like, okay, this is the action. Because it's like halfway through the book, basically. You're at chapter 30. And that happens, and I
reading that
think
and being like, what? And like going back
yeah.
different times. Like,
And like it's so crazy because the whole entire book, the characters have really played into who they are. Like and what I mean by that is Shae has been this pragmatic kind of like I think before I act kind of person. Like I do these kind of underhanded, backhanded things, but I get it done, you know, because I've thought about it and I've thought about it, and that's how she works. And then Hilo also, who is traditionally just kind of like this people person, you know, he's like he used to be the horn, he was a fist, he like goes and like meets people personally, and that's how he rules as a pillar. He doesn't necessarily like deal things out and like expect it to happen. He's like very hands on. In that moment in chapter 30, when Shae is defending her own honor, she thinks to herself, she's like, this is something my brother would have done. He's the hothead. Why did I do this, you know, clean blade challenge to the literal pillar of
the
the
mountain.
mountain? You know what I mean? Like I didn't think this through at all. But she also does go back and kind of have these moments where she's like, okay, well maybe I can win. You know, no one's ever seen her fight.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
she's
there's
not
not
that
that
strong.
good.
Right, but then obviously she's like, I haven't trained in years. Like I'm literally gonna get my butt whipped. So
Yeah, and then Hilo was like, unless you've been like training by night for like 15 years without anybody knowing about, like, what the hell do you think
I
you're doing?
loved it. Okay, I didn't want her to die, obviously.
Right.
Okay, but I was loving the drama. I was like, I need to see something happen. I need somebody, either she's gonna win this brutally and it's not gonna be about the like pillar to pillar conflict and we're gonna go way larger than that, or she's about to get her, you know, butt served to her and have a little
Yeah, I
sense of
mean,
humble
that's
sauce.
the thing is, I was like, how is this going to end? Like, you can't, you wouldn't kill Ait now,
No.
like as a narrative arc. Like, you couldn't
But
kill Ait.
that conflict was important because she did slice off part of her ear, and it did do exactly what she said, which was make her seem like a normal human that could
Person.
bleed. I was
Yeah,
like, everybody zoom in on that part. Zoom, 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 because the pillar of the mountain is going to be killed. Not
right.
obviously in this book, but
But it's
eventually.
this whole concept of like not this unbeatable, untouchable force, but it's like if I will offer a clean blade, she would come to serve. She would
Right.
come and have to fight like anybody else, and everybody is going to watch that. There's nobody who's not going to have eyes on that, and
And I
because
think it's
that's why it's so
interesting
important.
because in that first book, she did have that conversation with her and kind of like leveled with her and was like, look, woman to woman, you know, leader to leader, like this is what needs to happen. You know, we need to combine forces and become one, and you guys need to be under the mountain. And I think that kind of camaraderie almost showed again, even though a lot of the motivation for her not killing Shae was because, you know, she wanted to save face and not look like a, you know, cold-blooded killer, even though that's who she is.
Yeah.
But I think that that kind of camaraderie also got solidified later on in the book when they're in the temple and she's kind of like sitting there having that conversation with her. And Shae's like, look, if you're gonna kill me, you probably would have done it by now. I'm gonna go pick up the kids from swim practice. Um,
I'm out of
on the
here.
flip, you know what I mean? Because like this is gonna end in either death or life, and I'm rooting on myself to live. So I like that kind of like not really a parallel, but like that kind of like honor, I guess, is what it is. Because in the end, she didn't kill her in cold blood.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, favorite 5 stars. I love to see it. The audiobook was amazing too. Yeah, I'm thinking of picking up the audiobook for the next
Yes.
one, which I have not started at all. But
The audio is definitely like not because it's hard to get through, but like the audio saves my life because I can like
read
really
along.
feel immersed with it and I read along with it and I'm like, this is insane.
Yes. Yeah, this is exactly what I was kind of feeling. Like, obviously, I don't really know much about this feeling, but I felt it in the book through Anden, which I really loved. I really loved.
Yeah.
Circling back
But
to
also,
this,
yes, but also really quick, I also thought it was really interesting that Anden is like, my father is a Spirian and now I'm here. And so it's like I am connected to this and yet I still feel like an outsider. And
yes,
I think that's exactly also what Tammy's talking about with this feeling of like, I come from here, but I am separate, and I belong to KCON, but also here. But I have this very strange, yeah. So he looks kind of Esperian.
Yeah, he can pass. He's passing. He's like white passing, basically.
Yeah, but he has this feeling of like, I don't belong in either world. I have a foot in either, and actually, I don't feel right in either place because there's not really a full acceptance of whatever it is, whether that's like directly because of what Hilo says, but also in addition, it's like his own like discomfort of like, I'm not like these people. I have to relearn these customs at this age, whereas everyone knows this. And even back home, I am this, you know, othered, the adopted one. Like, you know, I'm not the same as everybody else. He like uniquely straddles that world out of the other characters that we read about. So seeing him there in this space is like, it adds a lot of depth to his character, definitely, I think. And then also seeing him finally get to connect with somebody for that romance.
Yeah, this was the other thing we kind of talked about. We were like, yeah, Anden for sure is gay. He is a gay man, and we love to see it. And I love that it was supported in the text. It is in canon. It has happened. And I just like, I don't know, I just felt so good for him because he got to kind of experience things with someone without having, I guess, like the pressure of society almost, because obviously he wasn't back in KCON where like, you know, queerness is known about, it's like accepted, but everyone's still kind of like, ooh, bad luck, you know, like you're bad juju, you're like a stone eye, or like, you know, whatever. And so I really love that he kind of got to have all of his firsts with Corey, and like really kind of experience that like sexual awakening.
Yeah. And also just like this thing of like, hey, I like somebody, and you're like, as a reader, you're like, ooh, like, and then you get to watch it unfold in this like kind of like pretty healthy way, that like, you know, this experience that he has with someone where it's like, oh, the son of the pillar, okay, like
he's royal.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, honestly, but the way like talking about this relationship, like when he had to break things off and Corey was like, well, you're just a dumb F word, like blah blah blah. I was like, you are such a little bee, Corey. Like you are so right. Like if you went to KCON and you had Jade on you, you would get your butt kicked so quick. You would literally be murdered immediately. Immediately.
Like,
but I'm still holding out for him to have a relationship with Lot. I'm still holding out for that, especially since
that's that bully romance.
I mean that, but also like he came back in the end of the book. He came back to KCON, and he had a nice little description from Anden's POV of how Lot looked. He was like, yeah, he looks a little older, but like he's got a nice cut suit on. He's looking like a fist. You know what I'm saying? Lot is also trash. Well, trash my dreams.
Fist, if you know what I mean.
Trash my dreams, Tammy. I do always fall for the baddies, and that's on me. That's my drama. But yeah. So
is this Zodiac Academy? What's happening right now?
Let's not start that. But yes. So where was I going with that? No idea. Anden living his life. I like that he found his place.
Yeah.
And I think it also speaks to like Anden, Shae, Hilo, like they all have very nice arcs in this book, and I think I liked that as well. Obviously the arcs aren't finished. They're not who they are gonna be, but I saw some really nice, I don't think we would call Shae's character like super great growth, but like she did have growth, you know? She in the end of this book stood up to her brother and was like, you might not like me right now, but I will be this person for you, or like whatever. And it was very Doru, like it was very like Trader Doru energy. But at the end of the day, she did stand up for herself, and like Anden in the same way, you know. He's like, I'm gonna do Greenbone, but I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah. Should we talk about Doru for a second?
Oh yeah, we can. So his like whole storyline, I like hate that man, dude.
I was not expecting him to show up again like that fast.
Me either.
I was
But
waiting for, because like at the end of book one, he wrote that whole letter to Shae that was like basically like, get out of the country, it's not safe, and I'm writing this to you as a courtesy because like I still care about you, but like it's gonna be bad. Exactly, that nasty old man.
and
And
they
so I was
still
like,
come up on him at the house, and he's still got a 13-year-old in there with him. I'm like, God, just
yeah.
murder
And
him,
like he just like
please.
runs out of the house. I'm like, so it's still happening. So it's still
Yes. So disgusting.
but I was not expecting him to show up that early. I thought it was going to be like a little like 75% of the way through, 60% of the way through type of thing where he would show up again at some point, but I would not expect him to be like in this sort of like revered position or whatever where I'm like, why is he
Still alive.
number one still alive, number two like why is he with other people? What's going on right now?
Yeah, so I think his whole portion of this book
Yeah.
was really significant. And I think it's because it does like two things. One, it shows Shae's character early on. It shows that Shae is not willing to do what has to be done, right? Because in that moment, she's supposed to kill him. She comes up to the house and she's like, I'm here to kill you because you're a traitor, and blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
she can't do it because of her feelings. She can't do it because of how like deeply ingrained her emotions are with Doru.
Yeah.
And we find out later on how that helps her character arc. The second
Oh,
thing,
yeah. In such a painful way.
I know, in such a painful way. The second thing I had, but I just lost it because I'm an airhead. So where did it go? Hopefully
Doru ends up killing himself instead.
he does do that.
Yes.
Um, oh yes, there we go. Yes, the second reason why he's important in this specific, instance is because he is like the final girl of the he's like the final girl of the generation that they lived in.
Why?
You know what I mean? Well, like he's like the last of them. He's the last of the older generation that was in
Yeah.
power.
Right.
And so it's very like significant his death because we start off the book with the funeral of the grandpa, right? And everybody's like, yeah, he was old, like it sucks that grandpa died, but he was a little senile, and so he needed to go. But then when Doru dies, it is truly the end of that era. Like all the men who fought in the war, they're gone,
Yeah.
right? So it signifies a passing of power from that generation finally fully to, Hilo, Shae, like everyone who's like Wynn, everybody who's working under them. And I think that was really significant because he, Doru even says, now that your grandpa is gone, I can finally I can go as well. I can go
Yeah.
in peace. And
Not that he
he
deserves it, but it is interesting to have gotten that out of the way because I think without that, it would have been like a waiting for the other shoe to drop moment of like, when's he going to show up again and just fuck everything up. And instead,
right.
he just didn't like. We got that out of the way. I don't know how soon, but like
It was like pretty
chapters,
quick.
like
First
it
part
was
of
pretty fast.
yeah.
And then I mean, yeah, like you're saying, like it's not now we're waiting for somebody else to swoop in and be like, here's the old way of doing things, but it's like literally it's all
Yes.
over. So
Right.
whether you like it or not, it is the new generation now, and it is only these people, um, you know, in power, and we have to see how they handle everything else. But this like last thing of Shae, who should have been able to end his life to, um, take revenge and like punish him properly, and not having been able to like herself put a cap on that old generation is interesting because it's sort of like this lingering presence for her of like I should have been able to do this, and maybe I'm not strong enough, maybe I'm not able to. Up until about what 3/4 of the way through the book
Yeah.
or so, when I got that huge plot twist, like no,
Yep.
and then the second one, no, no,
It's very significant. It's very significant. And I think it's important to note that Shae knows it about herself at the time. It's not something that happens and she has no idea, because that would mean she's not a smart person, right? It would mean she's not self-aware. She's not very smart. She doesn't know what's going on. But like in the moment when she's supposed to be killing him, she knows that she failed. She's like, God, mother, dang, I really just F that up. So she's able to recognize that when she's put in that situation again, she has to do what she has to do. And it's not just because, you know, because she failed the first time, but it's because she's also the weatherman. It's because of everything that she has sacrificed in the book so far. You know what I mean? All of her experiences, everything, like she has to do it. And I think it's significant for her because obviously in the first book, you know, she was just nilly-willy off in Asperia doing her thing. She's a spoiled old girl, you know, sleeping with the enemy quite literally. And in this one, she's really proved herself. She's proved herself, not just in being able to, you know, challenge the pillar of the mountain, but also in the fact that like she lost that clean blade. You know what I mean? Like she lost.
Yeah, that's also what I really liked about that battle was that she kind of went in like, I'm probably not gonna win this.
And she knew that because she didn't wear all of her jade. She knew. She's like, my jade's gonna get stolen today, y'all. It's gonna be stolen because I am not in shape. Like, let's be honest.
Right.
So she didn't wear all of it. But then after the fact, she takes that and she makes it into her own strength because she's like, you know what? I'm not gonna go to the family reserves and get more jade. Like, I'm gonna make sure that people see that I don't have jade on, like that I lost it, but I'm still here with my head held high, and I'm still Shae. I'm still the weatherman, and I'm still.
And also, like, I'm not wearing loads of jade, and I still cut her.
Oh, that too. That was she. Okay, that was such a little moment. Like I know, in the paragraph was this big, right? And it's like, yeah, the ear got cut, but like I was like hollering. I was like, she cut her ear, y'all. She cut her ear.
You were there, like, get her. Oh my god.
Yes, it was so significant because not only does it let everybody else know that the pillar of the mountain is weak, not weak. Excuse me, she's not weak. That she is beatable. That she's human, but it also lets the pillar of the mountain know that, because let's be honest,
yeah, there were layers to that. There were like 3 things going on at the same time of like, this is the reason why I'm even doing this fight, but also not just to clear my name, but like here's all this other stuff for the sake of the clan,
right?
And there's 3 layers to that, like,
and like Mada, she really has been living on a high horse. Like the pillar of the mountain is a very like no one can mess with me type of attitude, right? And we know that from the beginning. Like she literally killed her whole family to be where she is,
right?
So she's willing to do whatever. But like in that moment, it showed her that she can still be cut.
Yeah,
anyone can die. You know what I mean? And I think that was so significant. I think one thing Fonda Lee does really well in these books is she'll have these moments. And it kind of reminds me of Cruel Prince, not to bring up, you know,
every show as a
my one true love.
Just for
like
people who are bringing the fantaseries club, we have to bring up the Cruel Prince once per show, or it's just not a fantasy.
Anniversary edition. But like these things will happen, and it's up to the reader to kind of, you know, take what happens and be like, oh, that means this. Like Jade City, Fonda Lee is not going to be like, and because of this, that's what this means. You know what I mean? It's like the difference between reading YA and fantasy. YA and fantasy. I'm really off my YA and adult. In an adult book, obviously you, the reader, have to, you know what things mean. Right. So anyway, I just love that kind of stuff. Bread and butter, this book. It was a fun time. Anyway.
Oh, also, I don't think we even talked about Hilo at all.
We haven't.
In respect to like other people so far.
We have not.
We should.
I did want to just click on this really quick. I also think it's an interesting thing for Shae because despite everyone questioning her Kikuni's values, she still upholds the very traditional view of reverence for their elders. Yes. Yeah. Does the challenge. That whole thing was just so significant. Like her being like, I challenge you. You know, and Hilo, this is a good segue into our guy. I love him so much. He says, look, girl, I'm gonna let you do this. I'm gonna let you finish. But if you die, MFer, I am bringing an iron rain down on this whole establishment. No one will be alive. Like I might even kill myself in the end because that's how crazy I'm feeling. Like,
yeah, he's gonna break Aisha. He's going to break Aisha fully.
Yes, yeah, he was literally like, I'm fully going to kill everyone. Like anyone who's in my way. And I think I love his character so much because like that's how I like when I get angry, I like see red. I'm like, I will literally kill everybody. And like, not actually, but obviously that's like how I feel. I like feel that anger. So I think for him as a character, like I just relate to him so much, and I'm like, yes, because if somebody messes with my family, like they're gonna be splattered, you know.
Okay, but speaking of, and again, not that we haven't been talking spoilers this whole time, but big thing that I was not seeing coming was when he was like the whole thing with the letter that we talked about. That one theory that we did get right. So last show we were like, there was this letter that Lon's wife sent to Lon, and nobody opened it. We didn't know what it said. And in this book, pretty early on, they opened it and they were like, "Huh, seems like your ex-wife or Lon's ex-wife had a son." And at the time, there was this idea of like, oh well, maybe we should invite them and have them come and live here in Kekon. But after sending numerous letters, when sending numerous letters with this whole idea of like, yes, she'll listen to like the appeals of a woman, and then it'll be more of like, favorable because you guys weren't on good terms. Me still not trusting Wynn at all at this moment. And then they were like, no, and not responding whatsoever. So Hilo showing up with like two fists or two bodyguards basically, and being like, hey, what's up? I'm at your house right now. Open up.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm outside. Yeah. Great, let me in. Yeah, I love him. I love the man, okay? And I think it's because I would be him. Like, in this world, that is me.
Wait a minute. Because then there's the whole thing of, like, what you doing here with your boyfriend? Why aren't you moving back?
I love that they say boyfriend, too. Like,
yeah. And, like, the boyfriend just being like, sounds great, like, hey, like, he has no idea what's going on at all. And then they're like, you better come here now. And she's like, I'm not packing for any, it's just a different thing, it's not for this. And then he just kills her.
That whole thing, everything in this book is significant. Like, let's go ahead and just say that now. But like that whole thing, right? So we basically get the letter. We know that Nico is Len's son.
Yeah.
The wife not wanting to put her son in the Greenbone mob wars for good reason, obviously starts packing after Hilo shows up, and she's like, I don't want to be around this. Yeah. I think this whole thing is so just like interesting, right? Because she's living with her boyfriend. They've been together for over 2 years because Nico is 2 at this point. So they've been together for over 2 years. They still haven't gotten married. You know what I mean? So there's some things that could probably be like we could dive into that, I guess. But like it definitely paints the boyfriend as more of like I just kept imagining like a surfer dude, even though I know he's like a redhead. Yeah, like I imagine him just having like a surfboard, just be like, "Sup, Hilo, what's up? Heard lots about you,
either like maybe this is like me just like watching movies and being like, that's what it is. It's either the surfer dude, or the other impression I got was like, when there's always like the mom who's divorced and now she's with like just some guy, like he's just wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and a mustache, and he's like, hey, sounds great, like he's just like a guy.
That was him though, because he had the audacity when Hilo showed up. First of all, has no idea what's going on, no social awareness, nothing, right? So head empty, no
idea who this guy is.
Yeah, and then he has the audacity to be like, yeah, when I was in Kekon, there were some pretty hot women, so I snagged a trophy. He said, I snagged a trophy, guys. Take him away. Sniper, get him, please, because I'm done with him. This
is why you're like, Hilo and I are the same. Like,
it really was just like the audacity of this man. And the wife, or the ex-wife, I forget her name, y'all, I'm sorry. She has the audacity to stay with this effa. You know what I mean? Like, what is wrong with you?
Which is like, with the digging in, is like, why did she stay with him? Like, I don't...
Because she was in too deep. Like, because she literally, the reason why she reached out to Lan when she first got there was because she got there and she said, oh no, I might have messed up.
Right.
oh no, I think I want to come back home, you know. But then 2 years later, she's been stuck in it for 2 years. She's already went through the emotions of, well, Lan never texted me back, so I don't have to text him back, you know what I mean? And so she's already had like that kind of like grieving process. Then she got extra butthurt because he died and no one called her. And it's like,
Right.
sorry, sister, but you cheated on my brother. Like,
Right.
why would we call you? Why would we call you? You know what I mean? Like, duh. So she just went through her own character arc, and I'm glad we didn't have to see any of it because she was already on my nerves. But then,
already on the nice, to be honest.
right? But then when she has the audacity to stay with this crazy man, this crazy man, you know,
Crazy.
yeah, I'm like, honestly, it was better that Nico went with Hilo because,
I mean, sure, I was.
I mean, he did it in a real effed up way. I'm not gonna lie. Like he cracked that woman's neck and said, "Go to sleep forever."
Yeah. I mean, like, because the thing is, like, I think also Fonda Lee built the tension well, where you already like saw this as like, okay, something's about to happen with this family. Just when he's meeting them and he's like, I'm outside, and you're like, oh god, okay. Well, it seems like he has this, like, he's zeroing in on Nico, where it's like, oh my god, cool, a son. I want to meet him. I want to hang out with him a lot. And they're like, no, no. And when the pillar of No Peak has his mind set on something and you're standing on his way, it's very likely you're not going to be standing in his way for very long.
Right.
And it just, like, it happens so quickly. And Fonda Lee, like, builds this tension where you're like, okay, well, something's about to, it already happened?
Yeah.
It already
happens so quick. I love that kind of, though. I kind of love the deaths being like that because obviously in this book there are multiple deaths. And in real life, like, you don't get this long monologue where you get to say how you feel to the other person.
I think I do kind of prefer it where it's like, it's a shock because it happens faster.
Right. And it's real.
And it's not like, you know, you're watching this person as they're like sliding a blade into your chest at the slowest speed, but it's just like, it happens. And you're like, oh my god. Because if you watch it happen before your eyes, that's exactly how fast it would be.
Right,
that's how shocked you are. And I feel like that's why when people say like, oh my god, I'm so hurt by this book, in so many cases when people have said that about previous books I've read, I've just been like, okay. I mean, like, I kind of saw it coming, so it wasn't a big deal. But with this one, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Take a breath before the next death.
Right.
Least. Like, okay.
It's because it happens, and you don't know it happens till it happens. Like, I really thought Shae was going to be RIP'd in this one. I really did. Her guts were hanging out. I really thought she was going to die, and I had accepted it. Like, when she had done the challenge, I was like, all right, she's gone. Bye-bye. I disassociated. Bye forever, Shae.
Whenever I see a character die, I just don't want it to be true. I'm just like, that didn't happen. No. And I was like preparing myself to enter that state where I was like, Shae's still alive. It's gonna be fine. And then she was still alive, and I was like, I was right.
Thank the gods. Thank the gods. And that's actually a great segue into the next character that we can talk about right now. Yes. And this is a spoiler. Like, I mean, it's a spoiler. So if you guys really don't want to hear it, please click away. But at the end of the book, that feeling where I was like, no, they're not dead. There's no way. I had that feeling with Wynn. Because at the end of the book, she truly had died for like 2.5 seconds. And I was like, man, Hilo is going to be inconsolable. He is going to be crazy. Like, this man is going to go off the edge. His wife? No.
Who, by the way, already almost died earlier in another, like, explosion that killed her brothers.
Yeah, so, and like I said, I think all the things that happen in this book are there for a reason. Like, that part goes to show you how Hilo is dropping all of his meetings. He is showing up in like 15 minutes. You know what I mean? His face is like ashen. He's worried about his wife. Like, you know what I mean? He holds her so close to him, so dearly.
Yeah.
And then obviously in that moment, like, I had my stomach dropped out. I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But obviously that whole part was there for a reason, because we end up getting to where we are with Anden by the end of the book, with him accepting kind of like his role as a green bone, just not in a combative way, more of a medical way.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wynn, we should talk about Wynn. We should talk about Wynn, because I'm not gonna lie, she was annoying me in the first book.
I literally thought she was a spy.
I think we both were on the like, we don't trust Wynn train. We were like,
yeah, where I was like, she's a stone eye, and she just randomly becomes the Pillar's wife right before he becomes the Pillar, and now she's the Pillar's wife.
And now suddenly Lan's dead, you know, like, whoa.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I could help you. Why don't you let me spy for you? And
yeah. We were definitely sus.
Double agent. Like, how?
Yeah, and she is, just not in the way that we thought. Right?
Unless she's a triple agent in the third book.
If that happens, you know what? Fonda Lee, you got me. Okay? Because like, I didn't see it happening. I did not see it happening. I think Wynn's whole character arc this book was, I think, one of my favorites. Because I wasn't expecting it. Like, I expected Hilo to be the man that he is at the end of this book. Like, I really did. While also keeping that fire. But for Wynn, I didn't know what to expect. Like, I mean, like we talked about, I thought she was going to be kind of like a double agent. I thought she might have something to do with the bath ladies. Like, when she's taking these secret meetings, I thought maybe she might be doing something with that. But I think as soon as she kind of has a child, I think that kind of like solidified everything for me. I was like, all right, she's on team no peak. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, she was, but like, now she is for real.
Yeah. And also, like, that pregnancy happened pretty quickly as well.
Yes.
Where it was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm rethinking my whole Wynn theory at this point. Because I just feel like as a double agent, like, you can get in deep, but I feel like the level of something you would have to do is not just like get the loyalty and love and affection of the Pillar, but it would be much more complex than that, of like going behind enemy lines and everything. So I feel like at the moment where it's like, I am now a mother to these children, and then like even the stuff with the letter for Lon's kid, and she was just like, oh, I'll talk to them. I was like, this is not how a double agent would behave in my mind.
Yeah. Yes.
So maybe not.
Yeah, she definitely proved herself. And I think she's like one of the smartest characters. It is, because a lot of people in the last live were saying that, oh my God, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I actually hate singing this version, but happy birthday to you. Woo! I wish we had more of a more of a chorus. Yeah. Happy birthday. If everybody didn't know, today is Rachel's birthday.
It was now my birthday. Oh my gosh, thank you.
How do you feel?
I feel older. I feel wiser. I feel more birthed than I did a minute ago. I'm a new woman.
Nice.
I'm 27.
27.
Oh my God.
It works any way you like it. Anyway, yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hopefully you open your birthday mail on your birthday this year, right?
Me waiting months to open things that were meant for me in January.
I literally can't talk because I have birthday books that my birthday was almost 2 months ago.
Wait, did you not open any of your stuff yet?
I think I opened like 1 or 2 things because somebody had messaged me. No, I'm not gonna lie to you on camera.
Okay, fine. It's fine.
I probably would have like messaged you and been like, "Hello."
Yeah.
But we're also doing
hey,
like
send me these shoes.
This is like so yeah. Did you get me these shoes?
Here's me in all of the shoes that you definitely sent to me.
I'm so glad that those fit you. I'm so glad they did.
Oh thank God, I wear them all the time. I really do.
Here's some pics. That would be great. Anyway, we're having like a very inside moment right now.
I will release it in a vlog one day.
That would be so funny. What was I gonna say? I have no idea. Anyway, happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you, everybody.
Leo season, baby.
Love you.
Yeah. So,
So, when?
She did. Okay. That was all I was gonna say. Was obviously we figured out she was not a double agent when she had her. Right. Because like you said, there is a level, right? There's a level.
Yeah.
Obviously, if she had been a double agent, she would have been putting off having a kid the whole time, and that would have made the
Yes.
audience know, the
Yeah, I
readers
mean, like, I feel like for her to honestly turn out to be like some type of triple double agent, whatever, now just doesn't really make any sense. Like for her to be like, and I did all this all along to have your children, and then I'm gonna stab you in the back. Where I'm like, she
Yeah,
would
no.
have done it a long time ago. I think like this wouldn't made sense.
Right. And I really don't think she is. I mean, just based on the events of the book, like her brother, like let's talk about another death. Obviously, her brother gets blown up.
Yes, and like the car bomb, and it's just
Right.
like a very
She never would
unexpected
have done
once
that.
again. But yeah, I mean, like, why would she or why would the mountain have put her in danger if she's meant to be truly the
Right.
double agent? And where
Right.
it's like her and her children are almost killed when they both would have been assets to the mountain. So it doesn't
Right.
really make sense.
And she's just like a strong, like I just like her so much because she truly is working against the odds. Like
Yeah.
her, Anden, they have like that like little camaraderie, right? Because Anden's never been accepted, and also he's having some issues with his sexuality. And it's just kind of like I
And
just
like
like
when
love those two characters so much.
And I feel like Wen knows to some degree of what that's like as a Stone Eye, because they're
Yes.
still like, maybe persecuted isn't the right word, but like they're not treated similarly. Like there's some amount of prejudice still towards Stone Eye, even if they
Oh,
are now working
yeah.
for No Peak. It's still like you are not one of us.
No,
Um,
for sure. Every
it-
time they mention a stone eye or queerness, it's like always together. It's always like, ooh, if you're a stone eye or you're queer, like you're a horrible, bad omen.
yeah,
And it's like obviously they think of them similarly, even though it's
yeah.
completely different things. Um
But that's why I feel like it does make sense to have those two in. Like they're still doing such completely different things. They have totally different trajectories, but there's still this kind of like leveling with each other all along
right.
the way. And in that way for Andon, that kind of like increases his own bond with what's going on in No Peak, where like
Mhm.
even though his, sort of adoptive brother like rejects him at the end of the first book, that same person's wife, and again, Pillar of No Peak rejects him, but the wife of the Pillar and his own brother's wife is still, in this high power, and he kind of has this feeling of like it's not this rejection of like who I am as, or I would hope it's not this rejection of who I am because I'm queer or because of whatever, but it's more of like I did wrong by the family,
How it
and
was
he's still
handled.
like, yeah, it's the handling of things, and then how he could still be accepted again by saving Wen's life in the end. Um,
Right.
and it's almost like this sort of like perfect circle that comes back together in the
Yeah.
end.
And
So
it speaks to like who Hilo is as
yeah,
well, because like he doesn't care that his wife is a stone eye, like literally
yeah,
could not care less.
yeah.
You know what I
He just
mean?
like she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I love her so
Right.
much, and it's just like he is a wife man.
Yes. And you find that out like in the first book, you know what I mean? Like he
He's literally
truly
it was
loves
like
this
page
woman.
like 40 or something, and he was like, "I love my wife so much. I like
Yeah,
literally like love her so much. All I can think about is my wife,
right. And then when he finds out later,
or
another
future wife."
spoiler,
But
when he
yes,
got later his son is also a stone eye as well. He literally doesn't care. He in fact wants to like beat up the doctor because he's like, why'd you tell me that like that? Like you told me that like it's a horrible thing, but like my son is gonna be great. My wife is great. My wife went over there and did some stuff. Okay. So you think
not
your
that I
son
know
is
about it,
you think he's
but
saving lives? Guess
damn
who's
it,
actually saving lives? Wynn. And then he walks off. So I don't know. I like love Hilo.
a Hilo
Like,
stand
he's
through and
so
through,
accepting, and it
through and
really
through.
he's like the ultimate Leo, honestly, because he's like, you know what? I can accept who you are as a person, but if you damage my pride, boy, you better come over here and say you're sorry,
Yep.
or I'm not gonna accept
You
you.
better say you're sorry, or I'm gonna
Yeah,
kill you.
or else I'm gonna exile you to Esperia.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I truly love that, and I love Wynn in the end when she is like after they're captured, like towards the end of the book, right? Her and Anden. And she saw how the other horn of the Esperian clan, she saw how he died, right? Like they put a plastic bag over his head and they killed him. And she said, I am not going out like a little bee. I am going to look you straight in the face as you choke me out, and I am going to die with honor because I am the Pillar's MF wife.
Right. And like I also love that like I feel like in a lot of ways, in other books, I will see something as like the blah blah's wife or like the blah blah's daughter as like something to look, kind of be like, really, like, why is she known in relation to this thing? But like
Right.
Wynn actually wears it as a badge of pride while still
Mhm.
being like a very independent person separate from her husband. But it's more of like a mutual, like, they don't rule together, but it's like there's still this mutual understanding and a mutual respect towards each other. And there's
Mhm.
none of this like, well, I'm the pillar, so I don't have time for you. Like, it's
Mhm.
more of like, I'm the pillar, therefore if something happens to you, I'm on it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm there. And
Right.
I feel like in the same way, Wen has this whole thing of like, well, I'm the pillar's wife, therefore I too have to act in this very strong, like, you know, leadery type of way of like, yeah, I'm not going to go out cowering and like crying inside of this thing like anybody else, but I am, as if I were the pillar, going to face this in the same respect because that's who I'm tied to. That's who I am,
Mhm.
you know, myself. Um, and I mean, yeah, I think it just makes her more admirable because she's been that kind of like strong person throughout. And yes, I've been very suspicious of her this whole time. But to be honest, like, if the suspicion is removed, like, yeah, I like her as a character. She like took charge. She decided like, yeah, I'm gonna go behind enemy lines, like figure out what's going on. The whole like fake Jade trade deal thing was very
That
fun.
was so intelligent to me. Like, my little Gemini heart was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
intelligence. Hello."
And it
Like,
was
the
like the
way
whole
she
like,
fooled those
check this
guys.
out, therefore you don't see these. Where I was like, oh,
Right.
okay, smart.
Yes.
Okay. And then she
And
was like,
I
do you want some? Because it's literally worthless. And they were like, yeah, no, we're not allowed. She's like, we'll take like a keychain or something. And like, I'm going through or whatever. And I'm
whatever you
like,
want.
okay, yeah,
Whatever you want. She's using the Asperians, like, um, their arrogance,
yeah.
right? And also their, not naivety, but, like, their they don't, like, know enough about the culture, right? Because they don't know the
Where they're
difference
like,
between Jade and they
oh, we can maybe tell the difference or whatever. And Wen's just looking at them like, y'all don't know the difference at all.
right.
You would have
Yeah,
said something by now. Like, you can inherently feel the difference, and you don't.
right,
So,
right. And I
like,
love that. Like, I love that she used them, like, their own beings against them, you know what I mean? And Anden does the same thing when there's that shoot up at the community center and
mm.
the police show up and he's trying to distract them and he acts like a showtarian, I think.
Yeah, where he like
Um,
puts in a little accent, which by the
yeah.
way, in the audiobook was very fun because it was all of a sudden like this little like lilt to his voice where he sounded like, I don't know, it was almost like partially British, but still like this almost like Hong Kong British accent together.
Mhm.
Um, and where he's just like, yes, they went over there. I don't know where they went. And he's just like, if I talk like this, they'll trust me because
Right.
I just seem
Because
like,
of their own ignorance. That's the word I was going for, ignorant, yes.
yes, yeah.
Because of their own ignorance and also, like, the racism as well. Because 'cause they're like, "Oh, yeah, he looks like he could be showtarian."
And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, okay, we'll go over here." I don't know why I made him sound like an old, like, gangster mob boss people, but whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I did think that was really cool. I
yeah.
like when she gets the check from me, now that she can't move half of her body and she can't really talk. She's A-okay in my book. Um, I feel like there's a character that we're forgetting, a VIP, a very important person. Who is it? Are we forgetting somebody?
Um,
Besides, like
oh, well, I mean, we should talk about Morrow. Morrow.
oh, yeah, that was it. That was literally it. It was the bombing that made me think about that. Um, yeah, so
I'm so sad.
I know, I know. Ugh, that whole thing, I was like, "Shae can't catch a break, can she?" But it's going back to the part of her not being able to kill Doru, right?
Mhm.
Marrow or Morrow
Well, so
is
wait, first of all, like, they're together and it's very sweet. Like, and he's like, I know you're like the weatherman. I'm still gonna pay for your meal. Like, there's none of this like, oh, please, like, you're eating at our establishment, so we want to give you this for free. And he's like, no, 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 sit back down. I'm gonna pay for it. Like, let
mhm,
me do that. And she's like, oh, a man who can pay. All right, sure. Yeah, whatever, man. But like, she's already kind of in this, what's typically in a lot of heteronormative relationships, like more of the male role of like, let me take care of you, babe, and like I'm gonna like walk you down the street, and like we're eating at this place because like I know whatever. But like he's like, no, 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 no. Like and I don't mind. Like, you know, you are literally more powerful than me. And anybody who saw us together would be like, why the hell is this most beautiful woman ever with this tiny little man who like doesn't know anything or whatever? But he's like literally a super smart professor, and he's very sweet, he's very charming, and they have good chemistry, they get along together, and like they're instantly like, listen, I know it's only been like a month, but like we should get together, you know,
more often.
And it's nice where you're like, wow, okay, like Shae got this kind of like happy moment going for her. However, this book is still written by Fonda Lee, therefore probably not gonna last, which is now something we know to look for. But
that's right.
There's this sort of like inevitable well, first of all, she finds out she's pregnant, which I didn't see coming. And then she just immediately is like, well, I'm gonna go have an abortion because I'm not having this baby.
Right.
And I wonder how much of that was like really a tactical move, because it feels like there was no, I mean, like she did not let Morrow know at all. She just did it, and brought Wynn with her, I think, and then had the abortion, and it was over in like 3 sentences or something like that. And then just walked out of there like no big deal, and then didn't tell Morrow about it for like months. Like it was a very, very, very long time until after the fact. There's also this whole thing with like her, I forget what his name is, but like her assistant weatherman.
Wynn.
Yeah, and he was like in love with her, and she was like, I would have known, and she didn't. But the introduction of Morrow to like her family and how like he wouldn't be accepted, and Hilo being like, it's great you like this guy, but he's literally never going to be Greenbone. He's not going to sit at the table with us and talk shop. He can stay outside. I'm happy for you or whatever, but like, no, it's not going to happen.
Oh, God.
And thinking like, oh, that's like imagining that was going to be the drama and that's it.
Like, and it wasn't. There was more.
And it wasn't at all.
Her whole time. Okay, so this is great. I like that we're bringing this up because for Shae's character, I've seen people comment this and been like, yeah, she hasn't really had a character arc. Like she really had a character decline. And like as much as I understand what you guys are saying, not like you guys, but like as much as I understand what those people are saying, I also think that Shae, under the circumstances, has had to do growing in a not so pretty way, like in a not so shiny way. And I think it's a stark contrast to kind of like what her life has been like, because granted, she did, go and have that relationship with Gerald, and and kind of lived almost like a sheltered like life beforehand, right? She didn't really have to kill anybody for her Jade. She didn't really have to like do much to succeed. Well, I guess she did work really hard in the academy. Let me not discredit that because she did. But you know what I'm saying.
Like it wasn't the involvement with the clan. It was like, she was like, I don't want to be in the clan, and I'm gonna like go study abroad, basically. And like, it's like, okay, I guess. And like, we want you to be in the clan. She's like, no.
Right.
And then comes back because of the circumstances in the first book. And she's still super whip smart, but it's this involvement with the clan and then making this decision of like, guess I'm gonna be the weatherman.
Yeah, I'm like balls in, you know what I mean? Like she's had special privileges basically her whole life. We already know that. The grandfather has always favored her. She's super smart, so obviously she's clever. She even has the audacity to like say no to the pillar, you know? Like that's crazy. That's like literal crazy talk, but she's done it. And I think though her growth in this book wasn't pretty, I think she does have some really nice growth because she's made the decision to become the weatherman. And you know what that means? It's exactly what Doru said. Like it means doing whatever possible for the clan and for the family. And she proves that time and time again in this book, not just with her boyfriend, but like with the abortion that she has. And her decisions, every decision that she makes.
And a lot of it is just off the cuff where she's like, this is what I have to do.
Right.
There's no debate about it at all. She just does.
And it's like she didn't even really have to think about her loyalty. Like she's fighting so hard for this position. Like she just like already knows that that's what she wants to do. And I think also with the abortion, I think she also kind of spelled out that she has this conversation with Hilo. He's like, "Do you love Marrow?" And she's like, "I don't know." And Hilo's very like, "This is how I think." He's like, "If you're saying I don't know, it's a no, sweetie. Like you don't." And I don't know. I think kind of like having that abortion as well. Like obviously, I'm not in her brain. I don't know what it was like, but I think there is a level to it of being like, okay, well, if she was super centered around Marrow and like super centered around their relationship and like loving him, I think she may have made a different decision, but her decision at the time wasn't even to consider him. Like
Yeah.
not only did she not tell him about the abortion, she didn't tell him she was about to get in a fight. She could have died and they never would have spoken.
And that, yeah, exactly. And that was his thing where he was like, okay, so I just found out from the news that you're going to go fight the pillar of the mount. Like, why are you not telling me anything about
Right.
this?
Right.
And I think the thing is, like, for Shae, we don't see much of a debate because through and through in every interaction, she is the weatherman. So, like,
Right.
when she's at the restaurant, she's the weatherman. When she's like having these political negotiations, she's obviously the weatherman. But like when she's having the abortion, she's the weatherman. When she's having the fight,
Mhm.
she's the weatherman. Like there is no moment when she is like, I'm just Shae and I'm just. But like even when she's dating Marrow, and she's like, there's no way for her to walk through the streets without being known for who she is in relation to the clan, and so it's just this ever-present part of her life. So this idea that she could like throw any of that away to have a relationship with somebody who doesn't benefit clan politics and technically like would never be involved in it and frankly would probably hold people back because they can't talk about it in front of him, and he would be just sort of like a thing in the background. He would eventually come to resent her, and maybe she never
Yeah.
even could like be vulnerable in front of him because it's like, I can't tell you stuff about what's going on in the clan, so it's just clan stuff, don't worry about it.
Right.
So it's almost like, did she ever really have a real true chance at a purely like um like in the same way, maybe not, but like with Anden and Corey, it has nothing to do with clan business. Like the fact that he's the son of the pillar is not why Anden like likes him. Like he doesn't really think about stuff like that. It's just like he's hot. I like
Mhm.
him. But Shae is an adult that doesn't have the luxury of just being like, I like this hot guy. I'm gonna marry him because I really like him or whatever. It's just like I'm like doing what I gotta do, and he's nice. Do I love him? I don't know if I want to admit that because what would that mean for everything else that comes after? And everything for her is like, I'm thinking 12 steps ahead. So,
Right.
I don't really have
Definitely.
time for something like this if it doesn't benefit everything else. And that's
Yes.
the role that she has like grown into from the start to like probably about the like third of the way or half of the way through the book already, where
Mhm.
she's been that person this whole time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think her relationship with him was nice. Like it was a fun time.
Yeah. But
Did I
was it
think he was on the same level as her? No. Do I think what happened to him in the end was terrible? Yeah. I mean, that sucked,
But
but
also, like,
ultimately
I did not think he was behind the car bombing.
I definitely as soon as the people came up to him and they cornered him in his office, I was like, "He's about to be a traitor. He's about to be a
I
traitor."
didn't wanna believe
Ugh.
it. No.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was gonna be like that, and obviously he didn't either. He admitted that. He was like, "I
Yeah,
never thought that the car bomb I never thought it would be a car bomb that would, like, almost put you in danger." You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, I never wanted anyone to die, and that's obviously why he comes back, along with the fact that he knows he can't get away.
yeah.
He's
But then
like
it's also like, yes, he didn't think it would be a car bomb and it would get close enough to her, but it was still like, I'm gonna let these 2 people in that are interns to get close to the pillar. What did
yeah,
you think was gonna happen?
right. I'm
You think
like,
they
"You're
were gonna
not
go, like,
stupid,
ask
dude.
for
You're a
his
literal
autograph? Like,
professor."
right. So it's like, you let's be honest, like, you kind of knew what you were doing to some
Right,
degree.
and honestly, I think Shae also knew that too,
Yeah.
but
And I
whatever.
think at that point, it's just sort of like it's it's never really been like choose me or choose the clan. You have to pick one, but like she had already chosen the clan from the beginning of this
Yeah,
book,
and he knew that.
and it wasn't. I mean, that's kind of why it's a tragic thing that there was no. debate of like, you know, should I be doing this? Should I not? Like, let me think about my morals. But it was just like, I'm sad about this, but I'm still going to do what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's my role. That's my job. And you look me in the eyes. I'm going to kill this guy right now. Just watch this happen. Pay attention. I'm doing it right now. And she looks at him and he looks at her and just like, sorry. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, geez.
I also think that was a very good death because
And it was like maybe the slowest one we got too.
Oh, for sure. For definitely sure. But like the repercussions and like what it meant, I think were really important because Wynn comes to her, you know, a week later and Shae's like in her feelings. She's like, hold up. And she didn't even act like this when, you know, Grandpa died. She didn't act like this when Doru died. She didn't act like this, you know, XYZ, Lan died, her own brother. But
Right.
she's acting like this for old Corey because she killed him. Let's call it what it is. She's a murderer. Right. But then Wynn comes in and she's like, hey, you going to get out of bed today? Okay, great. Because I told my kids you were going to be there for dinner and you're their aunt. So you got to be there. And then she's like, Wynn, are you not like upset with me? And Wynn's like, why would I be upset with you? The mountain did this. We're going to get the mountain. You know what I mean? And that almost like fuels Wynn to like be even more adamant. Like it picks her up out of her like, I'm going to take care of the kids mode and puts her into the, I'm going to go smuggle Jade into Asperia mode. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to be that person.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously it was her brother that died as well.
Yeah, which is also so tragic. But then there's like the very immediate like, you know, they're out of the picture. We need an immediate replacement right now.
Yeah. Jeju, I think is his name, or Jion. I can't remember his name.
Jaeon, I think.
Jaeon. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, and also, I mean, obviously, the target was supposed to be Hilo, and it's like, who steps up to the pillar role at that point? Like,
it would be her.
I mean, I guess, but then who fills the weatherman other than, I mean, her assistant, I guess, but.
I don't know. That would have been a whole mess. I was like, I can't believe you were that irresponsible, Marrow. Marrow, excuse me. Like, that was really crazy. I can't believe it. And you really thought you were going to get away with it, too.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, I didn't mean for this to happen. Like,
yeah, I'm like, what did you think was going to happen? They were literally going to kill my brother. Like, what the junk? Anyway, so, yeah. Very crazy stuff. I think one of the most undeserved deaths, I'll say this, is Barrow's friend. What is his name? The other kid.
Mutt?
Do you know who I'm talking about? Mutt?
Is it Mutt?
Yeah. The way they blame him for Lan's death. Do you remember that part?
First of all, Mutt, I didn't see Mutt betraying Barrow in that way, where it, again, happened very fast.
Yeah.
And he just turned on him and was like, wait a minute, did you drug me in my drink? Like, the way that they did, okay, great. And then he's just, like, staggering around, gets shot up with some shine, and then it's just like, here's your revenge. Here it is.
Right?
Of, like, he's the one who did it, for sure. He pulled the trigger of, like...
That whole part was just so, like, crazy to me, because they come and they get the friends, Munt, and they put him in a box, and they bury him alive. And then they're like, we washed our hands of it. You know, that's Lan's killer. See you later. And then literally 2 seconds later, you find out that the person who called to give the tip was Barrow.
Right.
And like, you're just like, that little guy is like a cockroach. Like, he will never die. He will never die. And of course, at the end of the book, his last chapter, because he has to open and close the book. You know what I mean? Like, we have to have Barrow's chapters as the book ends. But of course, he in the end is like, I don't want to have anything to do with Jade. It ruined my life. I don't want it. But I will take down the clans.
Right.
You know? And it's a promise.
Like, haven't you caused enough trouble already? Why are you still sticking your neck into business? It has nothing to do with you. You're gonna get killed in the third book.
And but will he? But will he? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, like, I want truth to come out. But like I think his character is also so important because it really goes to show how this person who is so underestimated from the very beginning, you know what I mean? Who actually Hilo wanted to kill, but whatever, I digress.
Piece of shit.
Yeah,
He's so bad.
he mucks up so much stuff.
He's
And
so bad.
for what? He can't even
Like,
handle Jade. He
it's so
cannot handle Jade
it's
at
almost
all.
funny in the way that he's almost like just like this bumbling like dude, and he like accidentally kills the pillar of No Peak in the first book, where it's like, oh, what? And it's like,
It's
why
the
is
irony.
that guy? That guy took him down. And then like in every book, he just does something
That
wild where it's
massively messes things up. Yeah, and like other people don't even believe him. Remember that scene where he gets drunk and the girls
yeah,
are in there and he's like, I killed the pillar of No Peak. And they're like,
okay, sir.
right.
Like,
No, you didn't. I just like, I feel like that would be the worst kind of limbo where like you know that you did the thing, but no one takes you seriously. That is like
no credit around
my
here.
worst nightmare. It's my worst nightmare. Believability. That's what I would never want to have. I mean, never want to not have. Yeah, such a roach.
Such a roach.
Such a roach. And I truly believe in the end, like the series will end and it'll be like an
He's
ending
still
scene
standing on
where
top.
yeah, like what like whoever, the heroes drive off into the distance and then it pans out and Barrow's like right there on the side of the building and he's like winking at the camera and you're like, God darn it, Barrow, just die.
Just go away.
Just die.
Why are you not exiled or
Misbehaving
anything?
people.
Exactly. Literally,
Yeah.
though, he actually kind of is, though. He's he's an
just
evil
so
Mr. Bean. It's actually like the perfect description of this man.
just a bumbling, just buffoon almost. But yeah, it's so I like that. I like having a character like that where like, you know what I mean? You never expected him to be the one. He was the
Yeah.
one. You know what I mean? And he does all this crazy stuff. So we can expect more from Barrow for sure in the third book. But yeah, so I think other than that, the only other thing I really kind of want to talk about is Anden's homecoming to
Yes.
Kikon. Because basically, you know, after all the stuff goes down after the interview, and Wynn gets taken back to Kikon, Anden has a moment where he says goodbye to Corey, you know, and there are no hard feelings. And he's like, look, I, you know, still want to be friends, but like I'm going back to old
Chandler.
yeah, yeah. And maybe if I come back, we can like still be friends or like whatever. And then he goes back to Kikon and he's so anxious. He's so anxious to see Hilo. And he's so anxious to be back. And he's like noticing all the differences in the house. And he's noticing all the differences in his friends. Of course, we have his, you know, I ship him and Lato or Lato, whatever his name. I
Don't even
ship
know what
those
his name is.
two.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, I have to have a ship. I gotta have a ship to die on. Okay. And
he has that moment with Nico.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, can I get to know you better? Whatever.
Right.
Like, get to know each other.
And it's like that moment where he is finally home and he hears from Hilo and he says, you know, I missed you. Like, I'm glad that you're back. Like, welcome home. And it's like all Anden wanted. That's all he wanted was to be accepted by his brother. You know what I mean? And now he can like spend time with his nephews and nieces and his niece, and be a green bone, but use the power for good, you know, and instead of like evil or like killing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I really didn't see coming that like a Jade Doctor would be a thing, first of all, and then second of all, that would be where Anden ends up. Because in the first book, we see Anden so afraid of Jade because it's this intoxicating power. It killed his mother, and he is deeply afraid of it because he's so good at it. And it's the only way that people use Jade. You know, people kill each other with the jade and then they take the other jade and then they wear it and you have to wear it and then it drives you a little crazy. And it's just like, this is the acceptable way. And having this be used in the exact opposite way to heal and to make things better and to, you know, fill this role that's honestly very deeply needed for people to go out and they fight and they almost nearly die, or in Wen's case, die. And then to actually be able to use Jade in such a way to resuscitate somebody is like, okay, you really got me again, Fonda, for like the 13th time in like a row. But yeah, cool. I like that. I like
Yeah,
it a
that
lot.
was definitely something I didn't see with the plot. And I guess because like we don't know the extent of the Jade power.
Yeah.
Like we know that when they kill somebody, they feel the death basically. And they feel that power. But it never occurred to me that like you could control that kind of like feeling and almost like bring it back into the person, right? And I think the only reason that's possible is because he is so strong. You know what I mean? Like it's
I
almost like
definitely feel like it's not something normal people could do that can really
no, or else they'd have Jade
up.
doctors.
Right. Where I'm like, how have we even talked about this at all in the Jade
Yeah.
Academy where everybody wields Jade and just talks about Jade all day long? And I'm like, where was the academic like concentration on where was the pre-med
Healing.
track in Jade school? Like I don't know
Right.
why we don't have that yet. But
Well, and
it's
I guess like
yeah,
some of that can be just because it's like I think I forget this a lot when I'm reading these books is that the clan is a literal mob, you know? So like I forget that like their focus
but
is
there's definitely like mob doctors. Like when you watch like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad or whatever, like there's always like that one vet who like secretly does.
oh yeah, for sure. But like in
So
the
like
my point with that is just that the mob thinks of Jade as a tool to like defend and a
yeah.
tool to like attack their enemies. Like they don't think of it as like a healing practice,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So like this whole thing with Anden and his new like discipline, this is such a monumental moment in the series because he's like essentially the first of his kind, right? And it kind of ties everything all back together, you know, like with Doru's death, we're moving into a new generation, we're moving into a new like age basically where there are people who are of mixed blood who have more control than like pure blood green bones and
Mm-hmm.
who can basically bring people back from the dead.
And also, I think what's fun about this is I just really like the fact that there are multiple uses of Jade because Jade by itself has a lot of meaning in
Mhm.
Chinese culture for it to be like usually it's like it's very lucky, but it's also like this prosperity and like renewal and um like reverence that goes with it that I think in terms of like utilizing this jade in such a way to like fight people and defend and stuff is one way of thinking of like that longevity, but the other way is like immortality and like carrying on this legacy in a way of like actually healing people. I wonder if there will be any other uses for the jade at a later point, but I feel like that makes sense of this like perfect balance of these two in a way of
Mhm.
like it's powerful in a fighty way and a healy way, which obviously
In a
go hand in hand.
spiritual way, like, it's
And,
ingrained in the culture, like,
and it's
I
purely like it makes sense spiritually also with like you feel a death and also you can feel like life as well and like put
right,
that into somebody. Like it makes perfect sense. I don't feel like it came out of nowhere. I actually like even though I didn't see it coming, it just feels right.
right, yeah, no, I think it makes total sense, like,
Yeah.
perfect sense, honestly,
Yeah.
and I honestly love it, like, when, the Experience are asking for the military backing for their
Mm.
war, and Shae's like, "If you can't see" or not Shae, if Hilo's like, "If you can't see a difference between us giving you soldiers for your war and us, like, having altercations between the 2 clans, like, you're obviously not a green bone."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, I thought that was, like, such a like, that whole just, like, sentence, that paragraph, I was like, "This is literally the plot of the movie." Like, you don't get it because 'cause you're not one of us. So, like,
Also,
don't
just I'm so sad that they decided not to make this into a TV show anymore. I'm
yeah.
really sad.
I mean, I believe there is room for it to happen eventually.
I think it
Um,
might be picked up by another like platform or studio or something
yes.
because this is a good story like obviously, but also it doesn't feel like it was made for the screen, but it feels like it was perfect to be adapted to a screen as well.
Mhm.
Like it just makes sense. There's so many. I mean, in the first book, there was the whole thing in Twice Lucky when they were going to go do like the like heist thing, and I could see like the beads of sweat on Barrow's face, and like having to go out and like seeing this big area where people are like having dim sum and stuff, and where it's like, or maybe not exactly dim sum, but like a dim sum adjacent. That's what I picture.
Yeah.
People at the restaurant, and it's like, I gotta go there, but look, there's this person, and you can see like up close they have all the jade on their fingers, and it's like this is this like people, and it's establishing the characters, and then still
Yeah,
like
like
heist in the
she's
end.
so good at leading you through the story. I
Right.
mean, like, you know,
And
we
like
say
that was like literally like the first 5 pages, and I was already like, I can see it. It looks so
yeah, as like some kind of adaptation. No, I think there is definitely merit to like
yeah.
thinking that it will be adapted. I this is obviously off of the Jade War topic really, but I think with a lot of the fantasy adaptations that are happening right now, the streaming companies are figuring out the kind of like way to go about it because obviously with shows like
Shadow and
Game of
Bone.
Thrones,
Oh yeah.
you know, or like yeah, like anything kind of like that, if you have like a higher quality and like a very good storyline, people are going to be like all up in it. You know what I mean? So I think they're trying as like streaming service to figure out a way to do it like most cost effectively while also staying true to like what the story is about. And I'm pretty sure everybody in the bookish community knows this, but there are so many fantasy adaptations that are happening like right now. They're being like developed, filmed, like put onto the screen like right now. So I think just like in the next couple of years, what'll be important is if you want to see that show, like if you want it to continue, you have to like watch it like immediately. You know what I mean? Like stream it as much as possible and like let them know that that's what you want. Like especially with shows like Shadow and Bone, which obviously is the most recent, I guess, kind of like adaptation that is like large scale.
Yeah, like a lot of people went really wild over.
Right. Like they didn't know if they were going to have a second season because Netflix wasn't sure how like the
Well, right.
general public would have liked it.
Right.
And so I think you know, what can be taken from that is that if you want to see it, you know, we get so excited for this kind of stuff, like we have to remember like stream it immediately, you know what I mean? Stream it multiple times if you really love it. Especially like even with non-fantasy like Heartstopper, like that's another great example. That show
Yeah.
took off. Like they didn't even know that it was going to be that good, you know, but like because of the fandom. So that's kind of like our responsibility as readers, but that was on a tangent.
As fans, as folks who
Right,
watch
yeah,
the
like you really like it really is like they will give you what you want. You just have to tell them what you want. You know what I mean?
and just stream it a
Um,
100 times per day.
yeah, and just like have like enough support for it because they are trying to do that kind of stuff. Like there are book adaptations happening like every day. Where the Crawdads Sing, the one that just came out, I think this weekend.
Yeah.
They want to do that because it's essentially a script. Like all they have to do is
Well, that's the
adapt
thing is,
it.
like, it's so easy. I mean, you know, in a very broad sense of like this thing's
Right.
already
Well, you've already got the like
it's right
basic
here,
bones
and
of
like
the
you already
yeah.
got this like really great story of like something very cool happening, a great
Yes.
character arc. They're already fans of it, and it's a
Right.
good enough story that it can be brought out to the general public, and people will like it. But like you're saying, it's also like, how do you maintain that high quality? Don't let the fans down in such a way that they're like, don't even
Right.
bother watching it, but also still be true enough to the story while also appealing to a broad audience. So when I say
Yeah.
it's easy, it's like in the way of like it's all written for you, but also the challenge of the adaptation. And sometimes
Right.
it's
Right.
adapted in a way and you're like, that's not what I pictured, and I hate it. Like, I don't know.
Right.
But in other ways, it's like that's not what I thought at all. It's totally different from the book, but I like it. And
Right.
you know, it's a kind of a toss up. Which one's it gonna be?
Well, in with the high fantasy too, like we all know that there's so many moving parts like in these books like you have to be able to adapt it in a way that someone who's never read the book understands what's going on. So I
Right.
think that was the hardest thing with Shadow and Bone because they only had 9 episodes. It's basically like a limited series.
Yeah.
And they packed so much into every episode that like for someone who hasn't read the books, they have no idea what's going on. Like I remember talking to people being like, "Did you like the show?" And they're like, "Yeah, but I had no idea what anything meant." You
Right.
know, like whatever. So I think they're just trying to figure it out and just like for us who are so excited for these adaptations, we just have to make sure that we watch it we spread the word as much as possible, you know, like stream it immediately, like it, comment, like talk about it, and they will bring it back. Because there are going to be like some really amazing things coming out. Like I know one that I'm looking forward to is the Beast of Prey, that's being adapted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just like, it'll just be so great to see it. But something like this, I feel like this is so easily doable as far as like filming, just because like you can literally just get martial artists and like have them play these like amazing, or like even like have the actors, you know, train in that way. And have a lot of these scenes because they're very like combat, you know what I mean? And like true,
Yeah.
they do use Jade, but a lot of it is like, it's not like they have like mystical clouds, you know, coming in and like a ton of like CGI
Right.
needed.
Like it's literally just like have someone like grip their hands and you have like the jade glint off of like
Yeah.
their wings and stuff, and then just have them punch. Like you really,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I
It'd
guess
be very more like physical than like the CGI part, which I think is always better. Like I think
Right.
if you're having a Jurassic Park movie and you make the actual dinosaur like from a robot, like I think that's gonna always look better than the CGI fake stuff that they have like floating around. But that's just my opinion as a movie
The
person.
question is, who is gonna get Jade and pierce their nipples the way Hilo did? That is the question.
I'm gonna have such a big crush on whoever plays him. I'm gonna be like, hello. Can I please? But yeah, okay, so let's get back to the
send you over the edge where it was like, okay.
I really will. I'll be so embarrassed too. I'll be like, y'all, I can't help it. But let's get back to the original plot of the movie, which is Jade Legacy. So like what we can expect in the next book.
What are we predicting for the next book?
Yeah, like what are we predicting for the next book? Honestly, you know what? Barrow's gonna do something.
Barrow, everyone's gonna be dead, and Barrow's gonna be on top of the pile of their bodies, just cackling into the sky because he's never gonna die.
He's just like a very manic character, but like not really. Like he's just so dumb. I don't know how it works out for him.
Like he literally gets drunk, tells everybody the truth, and he's still fine. Like
yeah. Like he's gonna definitely be at the top of the top. I think it would be so interesting to see if there are other people like Anden. And what I mean by that is just kind of like
I feel like Anden's lineage has to get like uncovered in full.
Also, there's another part like to this book, like the interludes that have kind of like the history of
Yeah, I really like those.
Those I think are very important. I don't know what they mean, but I think they're very important because they're talking about like a lost son who, you know, was like traveling the world and then was found or like whatever, and like these other things. So I'm not sure what's going on with those, but hopefully that gets explained later on. And as far as like deaths and things, like y'all, I don't even know. I know it's gonna be something though, because everybody talks about how sad the next book is. So
okay, wait, who would be okay, to be honest, the saddest person to die, like it would be Anden, right?
The saddest person, like the person that I would cry over?
Yeah.
No.
Or like you would be sad about. You'd be sad about. Not at all? You wouldn't be like expecting.
It's not that I wouldn't be sad at all, but I think the person I would sob over would literally be Hilo.
Well, okay, Hilo's
because because his character arc would have come so far from being that stupid fuckboy in the first one to being like the responsible married father of the country that he is today. Like his whole character arc. Hold on. Now I don't think I talked about this enough, but his character arc in this book. Like, we didn't get a lot of time with Hilo, but his character arc in this book was so good. Like, he was sitting there reading the freaking paperwork about like the meetings and stuff and highlighting what he didn't understand. Like this man who did not apply himself in school is over here getting his little thing and he's got his little glasses on and he's just like highlighting stuff that he's got to talk to his sister about, you know, because he's like, I don't know what this word means, but I'm gonna figure it out. You know what I mean? Like he just like he really, and he's married. He's like his married dad status is making him the DILF we all want. Like I'm just like his whole character arc. Please.
Oh my god.
Anyway, he really just had a nice one, and I'm wanting to see
Honestly,
that through.
it would be the sad, and it makes me think that he is gonna die, but it makes me think that, like, he would have this, like, nearly perfect, like, character arc, and right before it would get cut short at the last possible second.
Like, he would, like, sacrifice for everybody.
Yeah.
And it would be so perfectly on par with his character because he literally is so loyal to everyone that he loves, you know what I mean? And he would without a doubt. But it would be the craziest thing if he didn't do it. Like if he didn't sacrifice and instead picked the country over his family. That would be the craziest plot twist ever. That would be it. That's what would make me gasp. I'd be like, no, he didn't. And it was something crazy like his son or something. Oh!
You were writing the whole book already and surprising yourself over things that did not happen.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, I need to.
You are writing your own fan fiction at this moment, and you were like, I can't believe this just happened in my mind.
Like this is.
I could never have.
My vlogs are always crazy because I'm just like howling into the camera.
These are the best live shows. These are the best ones. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who I would even. I don't know if I would cry over anybody. Like, again, I read these pretty fast, so I'm shocked when things happen, but I don't think I'm not as much of a Hilo stan. I like him. I still think he's a little crazy, but I get it.
I'm kind of crazy.
Yeah, your kind of guy.
It's like definitely Severo energy. I'm like, yes. I always like these kooky men. Anyway, continue.
That's interesting. Like
what?
The Severo energy.
Yeah, like literally, he's always with me.
Why do you have him right now?
He's my mouse pad.
Where did you get?
Got it off Etsy. I see him every day.
He's always with me. I just had him available.
Well, you know, because I have like all my faves. I have like all the printouts on my room, and then I've got him here with me. Anyway, I love Severo.
Incredible.
Another, yeah, totally different series. But so you wouldn't sob over anybody?
I don't know that I would. I don't think I would sob. I think I would very easily be surprised by anybody dying.
Literally anyone.
Anybody dying. I would be, no, just the whole time. I don't know. But
yeah,
I mean, like,
I think after the first death, like we just kind of are like that now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, after like Doru just appeared, I was like, what? And then everything after that was like, what? Oh my god! Like for pretty much the rest of the book, with the exception of just the political stuff of being like, waiting for something to happen. Oh my god! So I'm waiting for that type of roller coaster that, as Tammy said, Fonda Lee invented. And I don't know how it's going to be because I think in Jade City it was like well balanced enough that I was like, I wasn't feeling as much of like the slog-ishness of, it's not a word, whatever, it wasn't a slog,
like the slog of the first, or the,
like in the first book I kind of felt like it was balanced well enough that I was still like pretty interested in every single thing going on at all times. Some things in this book I kind of felt were dragged out a little bit more than needed to be, with the political machinations between all the different conversations of the different countries that potentially are going to war, different factions going to war. But I feel like with this third book, wanting to expand this brand new world, people are definitely going to die, but I'm wondering like how that will be paced. And I know whatever I predict, it will be the opposite of that. Whatever I think it is. If it's like Hilo's going to sacrifice himself at the end, it's going to be like at the beginning of the book, Hilo just dies, and then we're going to see everything else about everything else. Or it's like, no, it's going to be like a 50-year time skip or something. It's going to be just about their kids. Like whatever I predict, it's going to be the opposite. I just already know.
You know, there probably actually will be a time jump. I was thinking about this earlier because when, his son, when Rue comes out as being a stone eye, right? And Nico is now like,
he's gonna be like the next.
Yeah, he's gonna be the next. He's gonna be the next pillar for sure. I thought to myself, I was like, I feel as though in any true adult fantasy, we have a nice time jump. I feel like we will see probably, I don't know how old he will be, and it will be really crazy if like there is like a 10-year time jump and Nico is 16 or something. And Hilo is still like training him to be Pillar. And then something happens to Hilo and the kid has to become the new Pillar. Like that would be crazy if that happened.
We literally talked about this in the first live show, I think, when we had thought, like, what if Lon's kid becomes the Pillar? We were like,
right.
That's crazy. It's that there's like some little kid who's like ruling over whatever, and then this could be like it's
But
a
that's
time
it.
I hadn't expected.
Also,
here it
would
is.
make it interesting because now the Pillar of the Mountain has picked an heir, and he is also a young man. He's older than the other No Peak kids, so he would have more experience, right? Or like he would be older, so essentially he would be stronger. We would think.
More
so like that.
He's not a kid,
right? Yes, and that's kind of where I'm seeing it. I don't know if it'll be 10 years, like that would be crazy, but like that's what happens in a lot of high fantasy, high sci-fi, like they're, especially if it's like like this. So I would assume like now that the kids have been introduced, there is going to be a time jump. Hilo, probably something will happen to him. Unfortunately, it's going to ruin my life, but then maybe the kids will have to take over. Or in another way, Hilo has done all this training with the kids, and then some of the kids die or something, and then Hilo is like,
"Oh my god, well, maybe I would cry a little bit."
Yeah, and it would not surprise me because Nico's mom said, "I don't want him dying at a young age as a Greenbone, like his father and like his
which just
like
sets it up for him to take that role, which is
right.
why it makes more sense in the book.
I'm like, why even say that sentence, Fonda Lee? Why even say it unless we're going to come back to it later? So just me being a negative Nancy apparently, but that's actually what I think will happen.
You are brain blasting into the third book. I feel like you're on the money.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like when I sit down and think, this brain, it's unstoppable.
This Gemini brain?
It's crazy. You crazy girl. But yeah, so that's kind of what I think will happen. I don't know specifics, obviously, but I think it'll be something like that. Watch it be like 2 months later, and then that's the
it's like the rest of the book is just 2 months later.
yeah. But it would make sense because then Anden could potentially find others like him or like develop his craft as a healer. And it'll be really bittersweet. It'll be very bittersweet. I'll be like, oh my god, my boy's grown up.
That's what I was like. I literally cannot see book 3 not having a time skip at this point. Where like I just feel like with this book, it didn't skip like in such broad ways, but it moved forward very quickly.
And that's what I was feeling because I feel like the time frame of this book was like 3 years or something.
About 3.5.
Yeah, and then we also started like 2 years later because Nico had been a baby, right? And then we picked up when he's 2. So it's like obviously 5 years have gone by and we're like, oh, okay. So like if that's what's happening on the page, I feel like off the page, she'll definitely skip.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I'll already have my jaw on the floor if like we start Jade Legacy and they're like 10 years later. I'm like, stop, just slow the fuck down.
Just be prepared because I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. If I had to bet money on it, I would.
I can already see like little Anden having grown up more and like used to now like working with Jade as a doctor, and now he has like these little spectacles and he has maybe like these little like bags under his eyes from like working.
Yeah, he's gonna be, what is he gonna be? Let me think about this. He'll be like 31. Good old Hilo will be 42.
And he'll be like Lon's age, so that means it would make
Oh my god. I need to stop because I'm like literally tearing up right now. What's wrong with me?
You're like, not him aging.
Oh my gosh. This next book is so gonna make me cry. Okay, anyway, the prediction is Christine will cry. And that's it.
And it will come true, no matter what.
This is such a good series. It can't not happen because everybody talks about how good the ending is.
Yeah.
Anyway. Dang it. I hate it when I'm right. All right, so that's pretty much it. Any final questions, comments, concerns?
Poetry.
Poetry. Yeah, me too. Me too. 100%. I think we are aiming to either have the next live show, Jade Legacy, either on the 31st of this month, so in almost a week, or a week.
Yeah, just about a week.
Yeah, in a week, or doing it mid-August, because that is when we are all available. So yeah, like I said, we will let you guys know, and I'm gonna try and let you guys know sooner rather than later. I know this live show was very last minute, but yeah, I will try and let you guys know sooner rather than later. And I do want to say, if you guys are interested in reading our next series, the poll for that is in our Discord, which is going to be linked down below. You guys can vote on.
We're closing the poll at the end of the month, so make sure that you go and vote ASAP.
Yeah, definitely vote ASAP. I think right now what's in the lead is the Diviners. I think it's not as much of a sweep as the Poppy War was that one time, because I think the Poppy War literally was like 200 people voted for it. But it's definitely in the lead by a long shot. So if you guys want to read something else, make sure that you get your votes in. But basically, if we do end up reading the Diviners, we'll do those 4 books for the next 4 months. And then I think we will take a break in December and come back hardcore in January. So it'll be a nice even start, like a clean start in January.
Yes.
So yeah.
And just for folks who are curious, before you head over to the Discord, the 4 books or a series that are up for contention are The Diviners by Libba Bray, The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare, Kiss of Deception Trilogy by Mary E. Pearson, and The Brilliant Death Duology by A.R. Capetta. Diviners is first place. After that is Kiss of Deception. After that is Mortal Instruments. And after that is The Brilliant Death Duology. So, yes, as Christine said, please get your votes in. We only have a few more days. 7 more days until we close that poll. So, yeah.
And then those will also be on Nicole's channel. She's going to be hosting.
Yes.
For those. So we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
You know. But also, yeah, thanks for being patient, guys. You guys know summer is a crazy time for everybody, but thanks for everybody who was here and active. And also, I do want to say congratulations to fantaseries. We've been a book club for 1 year.
I know.
Hello.
Oh my God. Our anniversary was like a little bit less than a week ago?
Yeah, I think it was the 16th, 15th or 16th, or maybe the 19th, one of those days. One of those days.
I think it was the 16th, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, something like that. It was like almost the middle of the month.
Yeah.
Like it just passed it.
We did it.
So yeah, we did it. We've been a book club for 1 whole year. I am gonna get some merch out probably by the end of this year. We have some cool stuff planned.
I literally, as I said in my story or something, like I would sell, I don't know which body part I said last time. I would sell a kidney for some fantaseries.
It's gonna be cool. I'm hoping that I can get it together by the end of the year so we can all get our merch in December and then come in strong in January. So that's the plan.
Imagine us in this like cold, cozy season, and we all have these like fantaseries sweatshirts.
Yeah, they're gonna be cute.
It's our live shows.
They're gonna be cute. We got sweatshirts and t-shirts. That'll be the first ones. Maybe some stickers if we're feeling wild. But yeah, I do want to answer this question really quick. Oh, you already clicked it, didn't you? Did Mo continue the series? She, I think, has started Jade War, but she did not finish it by the time of this live show. So she said, I cannot continue and bow out. But I think she is trying to catch up by the time we read Jade Legacy. I just don't know if she'll be with us if we do it on the 31st. Yep. So if it's middle of August, she will probably be there. But we are going to actually be having a couple of other guest hosts, some surprise guest hosts for the next show, the final countdown. So you guys can get excited for that. And I think, thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
I think that's like all the updates, really.
For now.
Yeah. You know, if you guys have not wished Rachel a happy birthday, go ahead and do that. You know, hop on over to her Instagram and shout her a little message. Watch a video or two. She just put out her mid-year freak out.
For
You can do me a
finally.
personal favor and go like that video, go watch it, comment, and give her some heck for, I'm pretty sure she's going to have some unpopular opinions, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Per the brand.
Of
Per the
course.
brand. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So anything else?
If you want more updates about the fantaseries book club, make sure you join the Discord and you follow all of the hosts on social media because we post about it frequently. Especially Christine is usually the one to choose like the random books every time that we choose a new series, which has already taken place, but always a fun place to be. Keep it up with our hosts and look out for the next show. It's gonna be really fun.
Yes, and I like I said, I am going to try and be better about being active in the Discord because I realize I haven't been that active.
We'll do
I'm
our
trying,
best.
goals.
And I think if we haven't already at this point, we will open up the Jade Legacy chats as well as soon as possible.
We'll do that literally tonight, like before Rachel and I leave this place.
Yes, we will be staying here as hostages until
yeah.
So.
That's right, stuck in StreamYard. Anyway, all right. So good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
And have a great one. We'll see you guys soon.